everyone, welcome back to RTS and welcome back to another Record This Story start to finish layout. Yes, so what I have in front of me is one of those page kits that I had showed a few weeks ago, and so this was already done, and my photos is going to be of some colorful homes in Charleston. So I'm going to do a 2-page spread. And so some of you say, well, how many are you going to do for 2-page? Let me back that up. Some of you would say, well, how are you going to do a 2-page spread with that? Because remember when I was doing that page kit, I said I wasn't giving any concern whether it was going to be a single or a double because I don't know yet. So what I'm going to do simply is take 2 pieces of cardstock and I will stretch these supplies to make my 2-page. Yes, and it's so fun because when you pair up not only papers, but with embellishments in a new way, because I had been wanting to play with this, and that had been in that kit for, I don't know, 8 months, maybe 9 months, and I didn't play with it. And now, just because I had paired it up with something different, and it worked for photos that I just took not so long ago, you know, so that's just, I just love how that happened. So that is how I'm going to make it a 2-page, because when I was putting those page kits, I wasn't giving that a concern, because you just really don't know unless your style is always 2 pages or if your style is always 1 pages. But you know me, I'm a little bit of everything. Yes, I've been called a little bit of everything too. Huh, yeah. Bing, bang, boom. That's how we roll. Okay, so this is my formula. I have my page kit, I have my photos, and then my sketch is actually an inspiration that's just been laying on my desk for the last few days, and it's from the August 2018 page maps. And so what I'm going to do is that this left side page of this of the double page layout caught my eye, and basically it's a go-to design. So that's why it caught my eye. It'll be fast page. So I took my inspiration from that. And so what I did was I gave myself 5 minutes, and every so often I'll do that. And I said, you have 5 minutes to go pick out some items to go with this page. Okay, and so that's what I did. And so what did I pick out? I picked out a couple punches. Now that was an inspiration from the sketch. So I actually got a circle punch, and I got this EK Success border punch, edge punch. I picked up a tube of washi, and honestly those 3 things were in my Rascog. That took like 30 seconds. And then I got my alphas because that was in my brain. I kind of knew what I wanted. I just had to find them, and it was this, and it looks like maps because of this paper. It reminded me of that, and I only knew that because I saw that the other day when I was doing some putting away some items for my summer space shape up. So you can hop over to that playlist. It is working, ladies. It's working. Okay, so then what I thought what I'd do, because I've had die cuts and stickers and chipboard on the brain because of some organizing videos we've been doing, I came across this, and so that goes with the collection. So that wasn't far from my brain. And then I found these colors, and I thought, since this color is so hard, and actually I don't even know what you would call that color, maybe a dull gold, or perhaps a very muted green. Yeah, a very dull green. I'm thinking, I mean, what would you call that? Almost like a khaki green, if that makes sense. Okay, so there's my alphas, and then I went ahead and just picked out a small, grouping of small alphas. And of course those October afternoon, because I might put the word color in that. Just, pulling some. So here's the colors that pulled out at me. It was this turquoise and this pink, and then this, I guess, I'm going to say an army green, but that's probably not correct. I don't even know what that color's called. I don't know. Okay. So, and then this just happened to be floating around my Rascog. I saw those colors. And then the last thing I have was, I knew somewhere in my inventory I had a row of houses, and I couldn't remember which collection, and I just happened to go look, and there it is. Because when I have some newer chipboard, I don't put it away yet. I just had it cut and put in a bag. One of these little sandwich baggies, real sophisticated. Yes, and so I just cut up the chipboard, and I knew I had this row of houses. And I honestly think I'm going to figure out, because look, it has that same color. Yes, I really think I can do that, because my plan is I'm probably going to have to fussy cut. So I pulled my scissors. I think I'm going to have to fussy cut in order to stretch that and, give me some embellishments. But I have plenty of embellishments. And then also too, I had this from another layout, and this is just a little embellishment kit I put together when I do load events. And I have kept it together since the May load. And I didn't do anything with it, so I'm going to play with it now because we have load coming up. So, okay. Actually, load has, time this video goes up, load will probably be done. Okay, so that is my embellishments. Took me less than 5 minutes. I think it was 4.5 minutes to pull those things together. And so that goes with saying, when you have things organized and you know where they're at according to your style, things, you know, you get things pretty fast. So that is my plan. And so what am I going to do? I have my wax paper here. I know what my title is going to be. And then what I'm going to do is that I am going to sit here and I'm going to watch a video from Katelyn Clary. That's what I'm going to do. Yes, she is actually building a kit. And you know, I hear the word kit, I go running, and Katelyn does good kits. So I want to go watch her video. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch Katelyn today, and I am going to sit here and actually scrapbook. So I will be back with a fast page. Or should I say fast? No, finished page, because I'm not in no hurry. I have the evening to sit and scrap. Okay, so I will be back. I wanted to pop back in for a minute because I've had some subscribers ask me if they could see the middle of my process. And so this is exactly what the middle of a page looks like when I'm doing my process. So what it is I have my background, my 2 pieces cut, and then I had those 6x6 squares. I have them placed there. I have my 6 photos lined up across, and you can see I have nothing adhered. This is just the planning and the playing stage. And so then what I did was, remember I had that in this page kit itself, I had that piece of paper that I said I was going to fussy cut. And yes, I did. And this is the scraps I have left over if I can pick them up. Remember, and I did. I fussy cut. And this is what I have left over. I had some other scraps, but I threw them away. Okay. Now that wasn't, so that's what I did. I fussy cut. Took my scissors and I fussy cut. And when I do that on a page, I will do all my fussy cutting at one time. And so sometimes I'll just put on a video and I do it all at one time rather than pick it up, cut out a piece, and then figure out where it's going to go. I cut everything and then I play with it. And so that's what I have left over. But I wanted to show you something that you can do, because I had these berries. There's no way I'm going to take the time, and I'm hoping you can see that. There's no way I'm going to take the time to fussy cut around all those berries. At one time I used to, and then I didn't like the way it looked, and so then I thought it was something wrong with my cutting. It's just that there's just some designs that don't look good fussy cutting, and these little berries with all those little, it just doesn't look good, okay? It's too much outline. And so what you can do is take, if you have these little circle punches, you know, we've had these. I got these as a set. I think there was maybe 6 or 8 in a set for a Christmas gift one time, and I have had them all these years. Yes, or those EK paper shapers. And so you can just use those and use your little circle punches, tiny circle punches, and you can make embellishments. Okay, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And then if you don't have something that has actual berries on it, but you want something like that, you can take the back side. And see, the back side of that also had these little dots. You can do the same thing. It doesn't have to be a berry to do it. No, you can even just use any kind of paper. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with those in just a minute. So I wanted to show that before I threw them in the trash. Okay. See, again, you can use any of your scraps from your actual page kit here and make some embellishments. Just get out a couple little punches. So then, as you can see, I have my 6 photos and I have them arranged in the way I want them to go across, because I like my photos to be a certain color. If you see this yellow mustard color is every other one, and then I also have a heavy weight here on this side, okay, because that's where the page is ending. So I have the heavy weight, the photo that has the heaviest weight here at the end. And so then I have all my pieces that I fussy cut, and I have them just in here, just laid out in a little bit of variety how I'm going to have them. And then over here, my other cluster has some elements, and then here. I'm going to do a cluster right here, and I have all my elements, and nothing, see, nothing's adhered. I just have them here in a bright, what's that word? And an area where I think they may go. Yes, and there's a couple little embellishments. And I even pulled out my finishing touches, which I knew was going to be these little white ones. Why? Because I had to pull out some white flowers, and they were in my bin. Yeah, again. Okay. Now, another thing I do is when I'm planning a page, I have an idea, but I can't execute it yet. So, like right here, I want to put some washi tape here at the bottom. So, I actually had just tore off a piece, and I stuck that there so I wouldn't forget that I wanted to do that. Same way with up here, I want to put this little turquoise washi tape. So, I have it just laying there, and I just let the washi roll lay there until I actually get ready to adhere things. And so, because sometimes when I scrap, I only have a few minutes at a time. I'll come back, and I move things around a little bit, go do something else, put a load of laundry in, phone calls, whatever. And if I just have things laying here, I know what I can work on. Okay, you know, a little bit at a time. Okay, so then another process I do is that I get my wax paper and I have my title in here. And my title is going to say The Colors of Charleston. And right here is all those little extra pieces of scrap paper that I had used and cut out those berries and also the reverse of that. And so I'm going to use those as my enamel dots along with these. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sprinkle them around. And I'm also going to use them for the center of some of my flowers. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so that's the plan. Oh, I actually like how that landed. Look how that landed right on top of that photo. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. I like when that happens. Okay, so that's what I did. This is my planning stage. So now what do? I have a good idea where everything's going to go. I just now will snap a photo so I can remember where things go. Or sometimes what I'll do, I'll show you exactly what I do. Sometimes I have some stuff here, and I don't know if you'll see it, but sometimes I'll just take everything that I have in this cluster. I just slide it right off the page. You probably can't see where I have it, but that's what I'll do. I'll just slide it right off the page, and so I know on the left here, that's where that cluster goes. Over here on the right, I'll slide that over off the page, and I know where that goes. And this here, I'll just slide it off to the bottom, and that way I know that's where that cluster goes. That is just a quick thing I'll do when I'm, okay, well, I want to work on that, and I just want to keep all those elements together. You probably can't even see where I slid, and I'll slide all of that off to the right. And that's what I do with my clusters. I just put them in a pile, and then I slide them off into the vicinity of where they're going to go, if that makes sense. So, because sometimes I just don't feel like snapping a photo, and it lands where it lands. So, okay, I wanted to show them a little bit of my middle process, and now I'll be back with my finished page. Okay, I am back with my finished page, and it turned out so pretty. I love it. My husband had just walked in a minute ago. He goes, "Boy, that's pretty." And he goes, "How did you do that?" I said, "I just cut those from a piece of paper," which he thought was amazing. So when a guy says something's pretty, it must be pretty. So again, it wasn't that time consuming to do the layout. I had more time in fussy cutting, and then also to adhering each one of these chipboard letters, which I'll talk about that in a minute. But I wanted you to see the full scale, and I'll bring things a little closer. But you see how my flow goes this way. So when I did this cluster down here at the bottom, I basically put them together to the inseam of the layout to make your eye go here. And I'll show a little bit more about that. But I wanted you to see my 2-page spread and the sequence of my photos. Okay, so with the photos, can you see that the weight takes your eye over to here, because that's the ending of the page, because that's where, because most people are going to start up here because we read left to right, and then you're going to end here, and that's the natural order of things. And that's why when you have a sequence of photos, if you put the heaviest weight here, it just is a little bit of a help. Okay, so let's start talking about what we did. So first of all, I want to show with this 2-page. Now remember, when I built that kit, I had no idea whether it was going to be a 1-page layout or a 2-page layout. Of course, I spread it to a 2-page layout. And of those supplies I had put together for a page kit, do you want to see how much I have left over? Honestly, that's what I have left over. Yes, those are just little circles, and that's a little piece. So of all those pieces I put together for that page kit, that's what I have left over. Yes, now that's pretty good. But I'll show you how I stretch those things in a little bit. Of course, when I did the 2-page kit, I used these papers, and I used one of my go-to designs. And do you see a lot of this and a lot of this? Because underneath these photos is this pattern right here. That's just the way it works sometimes when you're using a lot of photos, and then you're using photos in the 4x6 format. Your photos will cover up your paper. There's just no way about that. Now, you can certainly cut your papers down. Once you know your design, you could cut your papers down, and I could have stretched this Cartabella paper a little further and just put it underneath these photos. But honestly, I wanted to do my background design, and I built up, and so that's just the way it works. But if you wanted to stretch a piece of paper, you certainly could, you know, strategically cut your paper, and behind here is some of this Cartabella paper. It's just not of a concern to me. I'm just glad it's on a 2-page layout, you know, because honestly, our supplies go from one pile to another, if you think about it. They go from when we brought them in to where we store them, and then they go to our album. So it doesn't matter. I'd much rather be in the album than on my shelf. So you know what I mean. Okay, so I will bring this a little closer, and I showed my middle process, and I had cut paper, fussy cut all that paper into those embellishments, and I used every one of those embellishments. If there was a flower or a color, I used it, because what I had those little bit of a berries left, yes, and so all I did was layer that, and then glued them, and then I just glue one at a time, and I add some additional dimensions. So if you see, there's a flower, and then I had some chipboard and enamel dots, because if I didn't add the addition of some depth of dimension, then everything was just going to be flat. And there's nothing wrong with that, because some gals just don't like lump and bump. And honestly, if you don't like it, don't do it. But for me, I don't mind some lump and bump, because I'm lump and bump. Yeah. Honestly, I'm lump and bump. Okay, so I don't mind lump and bump on my pages. And so then if you see with my cluster and my floral, and this is my main embellishment, it ties in with my title and my subtitle. Okay, and so that's all I did, fussy cut. And now, of course, you have to adhere each one of these. And I used this, I was going to say quick dry, but no, I better get the right thing. I use this tacky glue for every one of my embellishments and my title. Yes, I use this tacky glue. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, and so then I just also used, remember I showed those little circle punches, and I used those, I got everything falling now. I used those little berries as embellishments, just like enamel dots. Yes, I did. And so if you see this flower here, I put one of those punch circles on top of the flower, and then I use an enamel dot on top of that flower. Yes, and there's my title, The Colors of Charleston. And then down here, I did the same thing. I took more of those flowers, and I did pull out my white color box, color bin, and I, to get some additional color. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. And so again, the same thing, just pieces of paper and my fussy cut pieces, those little berries and chipboard and enamel heart. Easy as that. And I got my washi on there. And if you look, I do this test, nothing bends up, so I have everything adhered pretty well. Okay. And then on this, I added my title, and I'll talk about that in a minute, my chipboard, and again, I just added more embellishment that was repeated over on the left side, which was just the colors and flowers, and that's all they did. Added a brad for a number, because each house has a number. Yes, mood and feel. And then I just layered, okay? And then down here, it's the same thing. Now, I do want to show, if I can put this in frame again. It's hard to get a 2-page layout in frame. Actually, it's hard to work on a 2-page layout. I wish I had a huge desk. And at one time, it really did work that I had room for a 2-page layout. But because of filming equipment now, yeah, that breaks up the flow. So, but I want to see if I can, and don't worry about the sides here, but let's just focus on this here in the middle. So, of course, you see I have this middle cluster. And I purposely put this one cluster a little higher than this one, because it would be most usual just to put these side by side, okay? And so then when you would have them in the album, they look like this. But I purposely put this a little higher for 2 reasons. One, I wanted to cover up this vehicle that I didn't care it was in a photo. And then also 2, when you have this and this goes a little higher, guess what happens? Your eye is going to go up that way, which is what you want. You want that flow, okay? So when you're doing a 2-page spread and you're breaking up your embellishment here in the middle, the one on the right, it doesn't hurt if you shift it up just a tad. If you see, I'll bring that a little closer. You see how that embellishment on the right is just a hair up? That's just a little design trick you can do so your eye moves up towards this corner of your layout. Okay, so let's go back. What are we going to talk about? Okay, so you see I have the word colors here. Well, in my embellishment pack of this chipboard, this is from Paige Evans, Pink Paisley, beautiful chipboard set. That's where the row of houses came from. In that was also the word colors. So I could have certainly used that. It just didn't give me enough pop of what I wanted, but I definitely could have used that chipboard piece that said colors. I mean, I just thought that was a happy accident. So, yes. Okay, now the washi I put up here, this turquoise and then this navy. Again, just another way to introduce color. You know how I love washi. Love washi, and I just put it right to the paper this time because it just gave me that look I wanted. I wanted a little bit less of a stark look, so I just put it right to paper. I wanted to show you which washi tube that came from Petals and Bows, which was absolutely probably one of my favorite paper pads ever by Paper Studio and Hobby Lobby, and that's what those are. If you love floral, I would grab this because it's starting to be discontinued and clearanced out. Is it worth $15? No, but it's worth half that. So definitely, if you love florals, look for that Petals and Bloom, and then look for that 6x6 pad or that paper pad. I love that. Again, that's one of my favorite paper pads. It's in the top 5, definitely. Okay, so what else I want to talk about? Okay, so I added these white flowers in for my white bin, and also too my enamel dots were in there. So let's just talk about this white color bin for a minute. Okay, so I pulled out my little white color bin, and you can see a video that talks about that. And so there was a couple things I wanted to show. Now, this was a honkin' piece of embellishment, and I'm going to say it's by Prima, but one of these flowers here on the right, this flower right here, came from that. Okay, I wanted this white flower, but I didn't want this. So the reason I wanted to show this is, don't be afraid to tear apart your layered embellishments. This had 4 layers. There's the bling. Okay, you can certainly take that off. Then there's a crochet piece, and then there was 2 flower pieces. I only wanted that 1 flower piece, and it's right there behind that turquoise one. So don't be afraid to tear up your pre-made embellishments. Yes, definitely. Okay, within that, then I saw a couple of things I thought I could show. You know, I'm always talking. So when you're done with a planner, before you throw it away, I mean, I know some people keep planners. I don't after a year. I don't. Once I have everything I need as far as journaling out of a planner, I ditch it. But don't be afraid to cut some of your planner parts off and put it in your color bin or your color boxes or just embellishments. And I love these tabs, because you can use that. And see, they're coated. I mean, you can just flip them in there. Look at that. Flip them in there. Instant embellishment from leftover planner supplies. The other thing I wanted to show that was it was just on the top of my white color bin here, was that sometimes when you're dealing with epoxy and embellishments that have color, sometimes be prepared for fading. These were white at one time, and now they're starting to be like an ivory or a cream. And so I can use them for ivory or cream. But just be aware, when you're dealing with epoxy, those do fade, unfortunately. And also, too, rubber embellishments. Yes, sometimes rubber embellishments can turn the color of your paper. Yes, unfortunately. So that's just a downfall you have when you're not always dealing with things that are acid-free. Sometimes you have to pay attention to that. Okay, now I added some glitter enamel dots to this page. And why would I do glitter? Because, you know, Charleston doesn't seem like a town that has a lot of glitz and glamour. At one time, I'm sure it did. But because everything was kind of flat, I added the glitter enamel dots on purpose to give a little bit of bling and a little bit of zing. Okay, just to liven things up a little bit. Okay, so then what else did I do? Okay, so I had some leftover pieces. Remember, I had these leftover pieces? And so I used 2 of them up here to give an anchoring, because if you think this would just be on a pink block, but I wanted a little bit of anchoring because this embellishment is so big, I needed a little bit of an anchoring for my font. And what I wanted to show is that when you know, I had a lot to say. There's 5 or 6 lines there. Don't be afraid that when you're doing computer generated journaling to print additional in different choices of font, and then also different style, because when you bring it and do it on your page, you just don't know what's going to fit, because I have to go to another room to do my journaling. And so then I always have learned over the years to do it in a different style or a different size. And then because sometimes actually I thought that would fit, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I went smaller. It would have been too big. So that's just another little tip. Okay, I think that was all I wanted to say. And again, it wasn't a difficult page, but it sure was fun doing those clusters. Absolutely. Okay, now, someone had asked me, and the reason I remember this is because I was working on this, and I got some gummy adhesive on one of these photos. I believe it was this one. I mean, you can't even tell now, okay? So, you know, I had to break out my undo, and you can see a video about that. I'll try to link it below about undo and some tips about that. But someone had asked me not so long ago, and I'm just going to slide this, is that because I print a lot of my photos at home through my Epson PictureMate, which I love them. I think I'm on my 5th or 6th machine by now. Not because they go bad, it's just because I've been using them for so long. And I love those little puppies. And so someone had said, well, undo works good on your Epson PictureMate photos, but how does it work on photos that you get from a store or an online developer? And all I have is photos, because I just now recently had to go to an online developer for my trips. I'm getting a little tired of having to print trips at home. So these were printed at Sam's Club, and of course they use Fuji paper. So I thought what I would do is I would show you what undo does to a photo or doesn't do to a photo, okay? Because someone had asked me that question, okay? Now this is the paper towel I used for the adhesive on my photo, and you see there was no color transfer because this is just a white paper towel. So now this is a photo I plan on using. Okay, and I want to share something about this photo here in just a minute. So I'm going to put this undo right on top of my photo, right on top of my mat, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, we'll see. Am I worried about that at all? I put that right on that blue. Okay, and I'll even let it go to my background mat. Okay, and I'm going to take this. I have no color transfer. Okay, so don't be afraid to use undo. So, you know, we always seem to get that adhesive. And that'll dry and you won't even know that's there. Because if you look at those photos, I think it was this one, you wouldn't even know where I had used undo on it. So this is one of those things you need to have in your supplies. And I use it in the home. So this is a household expense. Yes. Okay. Look, that's already drying. Yeah, look, that's already drying. So this was from Sam's Club. So that was, you know, at a store online, however you want to say it. And they used Fuji. This is an Epson paper. And it, look, no fuss, no muss. Look at that. Just seconds. Okay, so I wanted to show that. Again, no color transfer. So once I might try Snapfish or Shutterfly, and if I get some of those, we'll do the undo trick again and see how that works. Okay, but someone had asked and I wanted to show that. Okay, so I think that's all I have for this 2-page layout, and I do have a 2-page playlist if you're just interested in seeing 2-page layouts be created. Okay, so I hope that gave a little bit of an insight of how I use a page kit to scrapbook something that was on my current to-do list. Okay, again, love, it always comes together. And I know that was a question a lot of people had asked, was when you're building those page kits, how do you know what you're going to scrap? You don't. You make a page kit just because you want to play with pretty paper, and then somehow a photo always will cycle through your photo supplies, and you will just always have a story to tell. You always have a photo match up with those page kits. Honestly, it always works. I've done it for years. Now, I did want to say one more thing. I said I had to adhere all of these chipboard because this is what happens, and I purposely did not finish this because I want to show this is what happens if you do not adhere chipboard. Okay, I don't want to see all my work underneath. I want to see my chipboard. So this is where this tacky glue comes in. Tacky glue, what happened? Oh, where's my tacky glue? Oh, whew, it was hiding from me. Okay, tacky glue, okay? And so then I just simply, and I have a link to these fine line, and I just pull that chipboard up. I squeeze a little bit into there and let that dry, because I do that test when I'm done with the layout. I go like this. If anything pops up, it's getting some tacky glue. Yes, it is. So with chipboard, do the extra step now because you're going to have to do it later when you look through your albums. Okay, so I think that is all I have for this 2-page layout, the colors of Charleston. Isn't that beautiful? If you live near Charleston, oh, you're lucky duck. Okay, that's all I have for today. Come back to RTS because you never know what we're going to learn. Bye.